Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I am your host, Adrian Atkinson. In our informative journey through the pages of Jamaica Magazine today, we'll get the latest update on COVID-19. Plus, interesting and informative features on how to protect life and property from hazards. Sit back and relax as we turn the pages. Stay with us.
An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. What to do if you think you have been exposed or are experiencing signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Immediately call 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. In addition, you should stay at home. Don't go to work, school, or any public place. Do not use public transport, and avoid visitors to your home. You may need to do this for up to 14 days to reduce the spread of the infection. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
And now for some major stories inside our GeoJ News Roundup segment.
Secondary schools will begin reopening June 8 to facilitate final preparation for the sitting of the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate (CSEC) and Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination (CAPE). The refresher program for students will come to an end on July 3. Minister with Oversight for Education, Youth and Information, Carl Samuda, made the announcement during a recent digital press conference at the Office of the Prime Minister. The exams, originally set to begin on July 27, are now scheduled to get underway on July 13. Minister Samuda says the decision followed consultations with regional and local education stakeholders and the leadership of the Overseas Examinations Commission.
Students and teachers with comorbidities and special needs will not be required to come to school at this time. We are ensuring that they don't come to school, and so that there will be maximum in the protection mechanisms that we put in place. Teachers who may suffer from the same ailment will not have to come, certainly at this round of invigilation and so on, and assessment. And we will find replacements for them.
CAPE is set to end on July 31, while CSEC exams wrap up on August 4. The results are expected to be published in late September. Mr. Samuda says the ministry is putting measures in place to ensure physical distancing and transporting students to school. Meanwhile, placement announcements for the Primary Exit Profile (PEP) will be made on June 26, and classes for the new academic year begin on September 7. The Ministry of Health and Wellness commenced distribution of 2,000 KN95 masks this week to members of the public through its Everyone Counts campaign. The mass distribution campaign started at the Halfway Tree Transport Center. The KN95 masks were also distributed within other major transport hubs and town squares island-wide. It is part of the ministry's COVID-19 control efforts and comes in light of more Jamaicans returning to their physical workplaces.
More people are coming out. More people are going to go to work, more people using public transport system, and we just want to encourage persons to recognize that with freer movement, there's a greater risk of COVID, and so the mask wearing is very, very important.
Approximately 5,000 families occupying bauxite lands for several years are set to receive titles for those properties this year. Minister of Transport and Mining Robert Montego says government will use the power of vesting orders under the Bauxite and Alumina Industries Special Provisions Act to facilitate the process.
We have consulted with the Attorney General's chambers and have gotten the go-ahead to use the powers of vesting orders under the Bauxite and Alumina Industries Special Provision Act to assist. This, along with the recently passed amendment to the Special Provisions Act, will ensure that more titles are issued.
Minister Montego was making his contribution to the 2020-2021 sectoral debate in the House of Representatives on June 2. During his sectoral presentation, Minister Montego also announced that the deadline for the renewal of public passenger vehicle PPV licenses had been extended to the end of September. He said this is in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and urged persons to use the Transport Authority's free online payment mechanisms to renew their licenses.
Persons who are encouraged to renew online free of cost, while in-office renewal without an appointment will attract a $10,000 fee. we are encouraging people to renew online.
In addition, the police record requirement for renewals is waived for this year. Persons who wish to change the class of their license will be able to do so, except for Hackney carriage licenses in the Kingston Metropolitan Transport Region. In other news, the Department of Correctional Services, DCS, is moving closer towards being self-sufficient in food production. This is being supported by 2 new broiler units at the Tamarind Farm Adult Correctional Center and the purchase of an $11 million tractor. The new broiler units can house a total of 9,000 chickens, while the tractor will facilitate cultivation on approximately 70 acres of land.
This is a step in the direction of us feeding ourselves, because with this tractor, it signifies to the country that we're taking our capacity to feed ourselves more seriously. We have a duty of care to the inmates that are in our custody. We have to ensure that they get the appropriate levels of nutrition.
And finally, a call is being made for all Jamaicans to join the campaign against illegal dumping, as the country observes June 6 as National Solid Waste Day. The day is being observed under the theme Solid, Stamp Out Littering and Illegal Dumping. It forms part of National Environmental Awareness Week, which runs from June 1 to 8.
How would you want to be treated if you were diagnosed with COVID-19? Not like this.
Them will talk how I'm wicked and if it dead, and they behave like I am the one that created the virus. All my friends as well that were positive, them going through even worse than what I'm going through. Persons are calling police on them as well.
Do not allow your fear of COVID-19 to rob you of your humanity. There is no need to shun or victimize persons with the disease or those on the front line.
To mistreat persons that do have it, it's not a good feeling. We don't cause this on ourselves.
We really need to cut the hate and work together as a country, as communities, to overcome.
Let us be understanding with those affected and support each other. Be kind. End the stigma.
Jamaica's coronavirus patient recoveries continue to increase, passing 60%. But while we celebrate, let's still bear in mind the lurking risk to members of the population and continue to practice safety measures. That said, we now turn our attention to some coronavirus facts and infection prevention measures you can take to stay healthy. Watch this.
Excited, FCJ, to be embarking on this expansion program. This represents the largest industrial complex in Jamaica, and we are doing it in 3 phases. Phase 1, where we'll be adding 126,000 square feet of warehouse spaces to accommodate warehousing distribution for both large, medium, and small enterprises. Phase 2 will see we go into a further expansion where we will be expanding to have greater frontage at the Marcus Garvey Drive. As you know, we are located near shore, near sea, and to the port. So this is a very important complex. We are presently 100% occupancy, and we are getting demand over and over. And on an average, I would say per year, we get at least 400,000 square feet demand at Garmix. So with 100% occupancy now, it just spells sense that we go into our expansion mode.
Early in the pandemic, I gave the clearance for the construction industry to proceed. And I'm happy to see that the Factories Corporation has heeded that advice and is moving ahead with this massive construction project. It is also their mandate to spur investment. And so they are now investing in expanding warehousing capacity. This is not just capacity to support large industries or the logistics sector. It is also capacity to support the small, medium-sized and micro business people who want space at reasonable cost to operate. And this is why I endorse this project. There was a period of time when this place was not fully occupied. Now, the garment-free zone is fully occupied and people want more space. It is a sign that there is fundamental demand in the economy, that there is real demand in the economy. The economists call it effective demand. It is a good sign, and I encourage the construction industry to move ahead with speed and alacrity with the projects that they have on their books.
You've asked for it, and now it's here. The Jamaica Information Service has updated its mobile app. It's easier to navigate, loads even faster than before, talking about top speed, operates seamlessly across platforms, and we're a creative bunch, so it's much easier on the eyes. Now you have quick and easy access to news stories, television and radio features, and a variety of photos right at your fingertips. And you'll get push notifications when new content is uploaded. Download the app on your Apple and Android devices now and get news you can use. Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica on the go.
The forecasters are predicting a busy Atlantic hurricane season in 2020. The latest forecast from the National Hurricane, Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, predicts a likely range of 13 to 19 named storms, of which 6 to 10 could become hurricanes. The forecast includes 3 to 6 major hurricanes. And when we say major hurricanes, we mean category 3 or higher. In fact, there have already been 2 named storms even before the season has officially begun. And we have seen Arthur and Bertha. So you can see that there is a strong likelihood for an above normal season in terms of hurricane and storm activity. All committees of the council and parish disaster committees that were already activated and engaged in the COVID-19 response need to remain on high alert for the hurricane season. The OPM, that has national responsibility for disaster response, must ensure that adequate relief resources are in place to respond to any eventuality, and that arrangements are made to procure additional supplies. The government is moving to strengthen the capacities of the municipal corporations with adequate supplies. Shelter operations are of particular importance to the government, given the COVID measures of social distancing and the potential for the spread of the virus and the impact on the most vulnerable in our society. And when we say the most vulnerable, we're talking now about our older citizens and our citizens that have comorbidities, certain illnesses, particularly diabetes, hypertension, obesity. Municipal corporations and other response actors at the local level must accelerate the re-inspection of shelters. And I know Minister Mackenzie has been doing this and is spending quite a bit of time and effort to ensure that our shelters are up to date, including regular sanitization of the shelters and ensuring that they are properly equipped. I saw one video posted on social media of someone who had to use the shelter, commending the government and in particular you, Minister, for putting in place these provisions. But when it comes now to having hurricanes and having to deal with a pandemic at the same time, a pandemic such as COVID-19, then it complicates the issues. And so we have to be prepared, properly prepared for that. And I believe, Minister, that we have to do far more training and education of our shelter managers so that they understand how to cope with treating with persons coming in during a hurricane and at the same time maintaining the various orders and requirements under the pandemic. And this would include ensuring that these shelters have isolation areas, that if it became the case that you suspected or confirmed that someone who is homeless who would need to use the shelter is ill or has the COVID-19 and they are not able to be taken from that facility to a health facility, then at least you would have the provision locally within the facility for isolation. Protecting our most vulnerable remains the priority of the government for the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, and the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, with portfolio responsibility for disaster risk management, must continue to engage and ensure all necessary measures are taken. Special guidelines for shelter operations and emergency operations are being finalized by OPM and the Ministry of Health and Wellness and will be provided to all relevant entities. I am directing all entities to ensure their continued heightened readiness and preparedness actions following the guidance of the Ministry of Health and Wellness and OPM. The National Emergency Operations Center will continue its coordination role to facilitate a whole-of-government approach, including our private sector and NGO partners. Each parish emergency operations center, ministry and agency emergency operations center is directed to activate 24 hours in advance of a pending storm or hurricane and coordinate activities with the OPM or the National Emergency Operating Center. COVID-19 has tested our emergency systems and response readiness. The government applauds our frontline workers and emergency management personnel for their hard work and dedication under the most challenging circumstances. Like we have done for the pandemic, our strategy must be to anticipate, plan, and prepare for the threat, and not to panic. And let me repeat that, and not to panic.
a family member, colleague, or stranger could suffer a heart attack or cardiac arrest that can result in death. But by learning and using the life-saving technique of cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, the worst can be prevented. Learn more in this, our next feature.
Oscar! Oscar! Oscar!
Though this is a dramatization, it has happened quite often. In the field, at home, or at work, a loved one collapses and is unresponsive. What follows? Usually chaos, confusion, heartache, instead of immediately providing that critical resuscitation technique which may prevent death.
CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It is a skill that is an emergency skill that is used to revive someone whose heart has stopped beating. Cardiac arrest can happen to anyone at any time. In the event that happens, you need to know the skills that you need to perform to revive these persons or give these persons a chance of survival.
We never know when we can really in a situation where we need to help someone else. It's really just a little bit of your time, and I think it would be a worthwhile investment in learning these skills so we can render assistance.
Even when someone is choking, the techniques learned in CPR may be applied to save that person from asphyxiation. To release the person's airway, position yourself behind them and clasp your fist at the navel and roll in an upward motion. When someone is unresponsive, that's a whole other ballgame. The person may become unresponsive for several reasons. For instance, they could have a medical condition. To really know if someone is unresponsive and in need of CPR,
Tap the person's shoulder and shout, "Sir, sir, sir," or "Ma'am, are you okay?" Once the person is not responding to you, and they can respond in several forms. They can answer by moaning, they can groan, they can open their eyes, they can move a limb. If the person is not responding to you, now you need to scan the chest and look if you see breathing. Once the person is not breathing, they are termed as being unresponsive. So once you have somebody collapsing, the first thing you need to do is check your environment, ensure that your environment is safe for you. Once the environment is safe, now you need to assess the person who has collapsed. Once someone is unresponsive, has no signs of life, call for help and bare the person's chest. So you remove their upper garments. Find your hand position. It's on the lower half, center of the chest, lower half of the breastbone, and you push in 30 times at the Bee Gees song, that's Staying Alive. Ha, 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 staying alive. If you are trained, after 30 compressions, you can give 2 breaths. If you are not trained, you don't know about CPR, you give hands-only CPR. So hands-only CPR is where you compresses the chest. You need to continue that on the way to the hospital, so you're maintaining cells' life.
it's possible for anyone and everyone to learn CPR.
Nannies, construction workers, teachers, lawyers, doctors, everyone should learn CPR. Once you're able-bodied, you can learn CPR.
In terms of age, it's said as young as 12 years old can learn the art to save a life.
So many times, children get in situations that they need assistance. In fact, a cousin of mine, her son got into some distress. She realized that he wasn't breathing one day, and she was able to help him by giving him CPR. So I think that was really important that she had those skills so that she could assist her son, because who knows what would have happened if she wasn't able to give him that immediate assistance.
This course, I've done it before, and I find it very interesting because I work a lot with children, and one time I have to do a CPR on a little boy because there was leave under my care. And mother wasn't around, and he was eating some plum and playing on like plum seed. Stabbing his throat, and I just hear him coughing, but it never very severe because he was coughing. So when he was coughing, I hold him up and I try to do a little, I understand the CPR, tell him to cough. And he cough and cough until it actually come up.
I had a patient once, and while I was there in the bathroom with that person, the person just fell unconscious, and I was there didn't know exactly what to do, but I was there saying, sir, are you okay? Are you okay? And I didn't know much, what to do, but I decided to put the person on the side, and I was there trying to stop the person, then I was saying to myself, if I had known CPR well enough, I could perform it.
The Heart Foundation of Jamaica is one of the several local organizations that offer training in CPR.
The Heart Foundation of Jamaica is an authorized training center for the American Heart Association. We offer CPR training for medical and non-medical persons. We have our scheduled in-house training, and organization can call us to schedule classes at their convenience.
To properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
It's at this juncture that we end today's journey through the pages of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another informative edition. Until then, continue to watch these and other programs by logging on to our website, gis.gov.jm, or subscribing to our YouTube channel. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson, urging you to stay COVID-19 free.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.